Hi, my name is Gervase Bushe. I'm a professor at the Beatty School of Business, one of the top 30 management research schools in the world here in Vancouver, Canada. And I'm also the creator of the Clear Leadership Model and the course. I assume that you're watching this video because you're interested in the course, and what I want to do in the next few minutes is give you some information to help you make a decision about that.
The Clear Leadership course that we participated in was really one of the most significant courses that I have put an executive team through in my 40-some-odd years of growing and developing leadership teams. I think the significance of the impact that had on us was to improve our communications with each other. Through improved communications, we're doing a lot more problem solving. We get to the heart of issues a lot quicker. The discussions are more cogent, and I think we're more honest with each other. And I think that's really making a difference for our team.
For 30 years, we've made great strides in trying to create more collaborative organizations, and I've been privileged enough to be able to be a part of that. I've worked with large and small companies, names you've heard of, ones you haven't, trying to build more collaborative work organizations. And we've made great strides in flattening the hierarchy, delayering, creating empowered teams, informating our systems, giving people more responsibility at the front line to make decisions. And yet, no one seems to be happy with their ability to create truly collaborative work systems. In fact, the research shows that even the most outstanding collaborative organizations tend to revert back to command and control within about 6 to 8 years. Now, I've been concerned about why that is, and about 15 years ago I had a series of breakthrough insights, and I'm going to share a few of those with you right now. You've probably figured out that collaboration doesn't happen by having everybody make every decision together. That just stalls decision making, makes people frustrated. Most well-intentioned managers begin by trying to get everybody involved in making every decision, and after a while people just get fed up with them and say, for Pete's sakes, make a decision. And then they do, and then people get fed up with them and angry at them for making a decision without getting their input. And after that they decide enough of this collaboration thing and move on to other things. So if you felt like you've been stuck between a rock and a hard place, you've got lots of company.
The Clear Leadership course is one of those courses that doesn't come along often, that has really resonated with our entire management team throughout the organization. I think they have embraced it. I think they really appreciate learning how to walk the cube, dealing with issues and problems with each other, with their administrators, with their staff, true 360, if you will. And I think because of its logic and the elegance of its simpleness, if you will, our people have responded to learning the principles of clear leadership and then taking them and using them in their practice on a day-to-day basis, much less maybe using them at home and in their personal life. And so as a result, it's really started to create an entire environment that's different. So what do I mean by different? People are honest with each other, they are talking with each other, they have a vehicle that can now bring people together and have honest conversations that I'm not sure that we always had, and it's allowed us to get out a lot of the, what Gervase refers to as the mush that exists in any organization. And I think that's really improved not only our decision making, but the timeliness of that decision making and the lasting effects, I mean in a positive way, of our decision making.
Here's one breakthrough insight you'll learn in this course, and it has to do with the problem of how we learn from our collective experience. See, I think to sustain any collaborative kind of organization, people have to be able to learn from their experience together. And our image of how we do that is we get together to talk about what happened last week and decide what we liked and what we didn't like and what we want to do the same or differently in the future. And that seems like a reasonable thought. But here's the problem with that. And the problem is this: everybody had a different experience. You know, if you ask anybody what happened at a meeting, you get 5, 10 different stories about what happened at the meeting. And as people talk about what happened last week, there are 5 or 10 different experiences depending on the number of people in the room. And what happens in a work organization is that a subtle thing happens around, well, who had the right experience? And it's obvious who had the right experience. The boss had the right experience. And what happens at that moment is the easiest move in the world. And that is to make the boss responsible for the success of whatever we're doing. So people go, okay, boss, you're in charge, tell me what to do, and collaboration takes a hit. And enough times that happens, we're no longer in a collaborative relationship. We're in a relationship where, as a boss, you're wondering, how come I can't get people's motivation and engagement in what I'm doing? So in this course, what you'll learn is to think about how we learn from our collective experience in a very different way. That begins with the assumption that we each create our own experience and that we each have a different experience. And you won't just learn some new ideas and techniques about how to deal with this. You're going to learn some things that are going to change the way you think about yourself in the world. For many people, it's a life-changing experience.
The impact of the Clear Leadership program on me personally has been an important one. I've gone to lots of courses. I've participated in a lot of educational endeavors over the years. But for me, this has really been a tool that I find very helpful, not just in working with our executive management team, but with the board. I find myself using it in my personal life and in my daily experiences in relating to other people.
Over the 4 days of this course, you'll learn step by step a set of skills that are required for you and others to be able to learn from your collective experience. And why that's so important comes from another breakthrough insight. And again, it's about something that seems normal and natural. And it's this, that we're sense-making beings. What that means is that we're compelled to make sense of each other, to have a story about each other that we can stand on and understand what's happening between us. And the problem with it is this. When I try to make sense of you, and particularly if you're my boss, and you're doing something that doesn't make sense to me, and I don't know if I like it or not, what's the chances that I'll actually come to you and check and ask you what that's about? Typically pretty low. We don't go to the people we're trying to make sense of. Instead, what we do is we go find somebody else to talk to about it, maybe our spouse or a colleague, and we get together and try to figure out what's going on with you. And what we do is we end up making up a story that fills in the gaps about what we know about what's going on in your head. And this leads to a condition I call interpersonal mush. And I think it's the interpersonal mush where people are interacting with each other based on stories they made up about each other but haven't checked out that destroys organizations. And the reason it's so destructive is because the stories we make up tend to be worse than the reality. The reason the interpersonal mush tends to be worse than the reality is because of our neurobiology, that our brains are wired to experience any ambiguous stimulation as threat. And so because of that, the stories we make up tend to be worse than the reality. And that has a number of debilitating consequences for organizations. And one of them is that it destroys partnership. It's the mush that destroys collaboration, it destroys teams, it destroys morale, and it ends up making organizations much less than the sum of its members. So in this course, you'll learn skills that will enable you to clear out the mush, help people get clear with each other, to build strong working relationships that will really result in collaboration and partnership. We've analyzed the course evaluations from over thousands of managers who've taken this course, and over 90% say that it exceeded or greatly exceeded their expectations. We've also studied the transfer of this course back into organizations, and over 90% of the peers of people who take this course say that person is different, they're more effective, that they're doing something that makes them just a more effective collaborator or leader at work. Now, why is this course so powerful? Well, partly it's due to the model. The Clear Leadership model is a coherent model that brings together many insights from the research in management and psychology in a way that everybody can understand and fits them together in a way that people can use. But partly it's also from the way the course is designed. See, my background is in laboratory education. It's a form of learning that's used for things like encounter groups, and you may have heard of T groups, sensitivity training, very powerful, impactful ways of learning. The problem with the sort of pure forms of laboratory education is you can't bring them into organizations. They're too overwhelming and too intimidating for people. What I've been able to do is cull from that a set of learning processes that are powerful enough so that people have a developmental experience, but at the same time retain their dignity, to not be overwhelmed, to in fact leave the course feeling good about themselves, not bad about themselves. I assume you're watching this video because you're thinking about taking the course. And I know it's hard to believe that a 4-day course could produce so much value for people. I also know it's hard to imagine how you could find 4 days out of your busy schedule to take a course. But what I also know is this, from the thousands of managers who've taken this course in North America, Mexico, Europe, and Australia, over 99% at the end of the course say, I want more of that. I encourage you to do what you need to do to check out the amazing opportunity and value that clear leadership represents. I know you won't be disappointed.